It all started when I first met her at Helena's art class. Bella was the youngest sister of our art teacher Helena. After my day job at architecture firm, I decided to join the fine arts class in the evening. I wanted to learn and experience something more aesthetically pleasing, and so I decided to join painting class. Helena was a professional fine artist. It was an honor to learn painting from one of the kindest and soft-spoken persons I have ever met in my life. Her attention to detail was very impressive. As we started our class, we became very close friends. Most of the discussions were around art and design. Since I was an architect, I was always very much into creative stuff. She introduced me to her younger sister, who was also a student in our class and was a very lively person. She had more of a rebel personality and was a social butterfly. Her energy was very captivating. Since I had graduated from Florida Art School and was working with a top architecture firm, there it was pretty obvious that Bella was interested in me. She was an undergraduate student at the same university and was deciding to major in architecture. So after each class we started having conversations, as I used to guide her on how to navigate through architecture exams. Soon we started to hang around with each other more, and I also started to visit her home, as sometime they would invite me for a dinner or a cup of tea. Her parents were very nice people, and they were a pretty close-knit family. One night our friendship took turn as I came home from office, and I was so tired. Suddenly someone knocked on the door and Bella was standing there, pretty upset and crying. I invited her in, gave her a cup of strawberry green tea, and tried to console her. She had just found out that her boyfriend had been cheating on her with a younger student, and she was pretty upset about it. And they had just broken up and she wanted someone to talk to, so gave her a good listening session. We saw a couple of funny movies with popcorn and she was feeling pretty light. Soon it was getting pretty late, so I dropped her off. The next day she thanked me and wanted to take me to a really nice cafe. So after work we went there and had a cup of coffee. I tried to cheer her up even more by showing funny videos of my cat. Her smile was a very charming one. She thanked me for being there for her. Soon we started to go out on a daily basis. She was still healing from the traumatic experience that she had just experienced and used to tell me all about him and how he was such an ungrateful person. I was getting more and more interested in her, and we officially started dating after the class. My decision was an impulsive one, but at that moment I thought she was the right person for me. Because she had been through a heartbreak, she would be one loyal person. So one fine evening after class, I requested her older sister to join me for a cup of tea, and I shared my feelings for Bella with her. I wanted her opinion, as I wanted to marry her. She was very delighted to hear all this, and she discussed with her parents. They were also in agreement. So after 2 months, on her birthday, I surprised Bella with a wedding ring, and I knelt down after cutting the cake. She was in disbelief and in tears with joy. She couldn't believe that someone would love her so much, that he would be eager to spend whole life with her. She immediately said yes, and the very next week we got married, and it was the most joyous moment of my life. Right after 2 months, she was graduated from the university, so I arranged for her to have an interview at my firm. Soon she joined us as an intern and was a very hardworking person herself. We were having the beautiful time of our life, as we used to go to work together and spend most of our time together. But soon her department was switched to planning level while I was in deployment level. Still, we had our lunches together, and after work we regularly used to go to the gym together. Things started to take turn, and in a very unexpected way, as she got her promotion from an intern to junior architect. After getting her first salary, she started to spend randomly on partying and purchasing unnecessary stuff. At first, it was not a big deal because she was excited to have some money, but over the course of next few months, Her spending habits took over as she started to eat out a lot, go out and attend parties. This started to concern me and I protested a little and requested her to manage her expenses. But now her quest of spending had uncontrollably taken over her emotions. Even though I was the one who was managing all the expenses of our home and paying all the bills, yet she was in no mood of contributing. It was not an issue for me, but her behavior had started to change. She was now getting irritated on little things. She was annoyed all the time. She used to say that she was feeling suffocated. That's why she was spending so much just to experience something new. At first I ignored it, but soon it was way too much for us to sustain it as she started to take payday loans. This was the limit of my tolerance because after just 3 months, she was in 19,000 of debt. So I took her to a therapist and started her counseling sessions. I did some improvement with my day-to-day routine and overall in her behavior. But it was not enough because soon as she got her pay, it was spent just within a week and I was totally not happy about it. Now she had started to have fights almost on a regular basis and it was getting frustrated that her spending habits were totally out of control and she was pretty repulsive about it and nothing could be done. On the other hand, I was taking care of everything from home expenses to mortgage payments. Soon something even more strange happened as our routine shifted. I was going in the morning and she was working at night and was coming in the morning, and it was not frustrating enough already that I had been. But since our office was almost open 24 hours, it was not a big concern for me. But then one day a co-worker of mine informed me that she had been spending way more time with one of our senior fellows and was always seen going out with him a couple of times. At first I ignored it, since it was a common routine for us to visit construction sites to evaluate the progress, but then another friend of mine told me the same thing, and now I was getting skeptical because she was also changing her behavior. Soon I was pretty much sure that she had started to cheat behind my back because her expenses were now totally taken care of by her senior, because her loans were being simply paid off within a few weeks. Since I did not have any proof and I also did not want to accuse her of anything, so I waited for the right moment to make sure that my doubts were actually real. So I bought a tracker and placed it in her purse so that I could track her whereabouts. To my surprise, it was not only my senior that she had been cheating with. She was also going to parties after work and in between the office timings, and was also going to various places during the night. It was pretty surprising for me because the locations were totally unknown to me. This rang alarm bells in my head. I had no choice but to discuss this with her family, so I consciously approached her elder sister, whom I respected so much, and shared all the details with her. She was so much upset just by knowing that she has been on a spending spree and was covering it with party and having multiple relationships. So one night we both took time out and followed her car, and our doubts were now clear that she had been doing this all. She was on an apologetic shopping spree and to spend all way having false relationships. So I came up with a plan to teach her a lesson. One day suddenly she got a call from her sister that she would be visiting her office. Upon her arrival, Bella was surprised to see that her sister was dressed in a very beautiful dress. She came to my office and started to have a conversation, and as days were passing by, her sister used to visit us twice or thrice a week and was spending more time with me. Her dressing was always very elegant. This made my wife worried about why her elder sister would be spending so much time with her husband. She got concerned, and now she was the one who was uncomfortable with this whole concept and was protesting now. At first I kept quiet and was not responding, as this was also part of the plan, but soon it got pretty much evident as her sister now was also visiting us at our home, sometimes for tea and other times for dinner, and this was making my wife very much jealous and uncomfortable. One day, as she was on a holiday and was out shopping, we deliberately planned to show her that we were interested in each other. As I had already installed a tracker in her bag, We followed her up, and while she was shopping, we sat in a cafeteria in a very visible location and were in a very good dressing. When she came down from the mall and saw us sitting together, she was puzzled and furious at the same time, but surprisingly she did not approach us and went away. At home, while I was washing dishes, she asked me where I had been. I told her that I was at the office. This was an obvious lie to make her even more angry. Over the next weeks, we repeated this activity again, while in between, her sister was visiting me in the office as well as spending time with us at home. This made my wife so much frustrated and full of anger that she could not hold back any longer. So one day she just bursted out to me in anger that why I had been dating her sister, and what have she done wrong with that I have started to do such stuff, and why this had been happening to her, since she had to be always the victim. At first I just shrugged it off and said she had been delusional and there was no such stuff going on, just to make her even more furious, but she was determined to catch us red-handed. So the next week as she went out, we followed her again and again in a cafe. Now undoubtedly she came this time right at us. She was determined to catch us and she was fuming and was just starting to make a scene. Her sister grabbed her hand and made her there, and I started to show her all the pictures which I had taken when she was away with her boss and other boys. She got red as beetroot out of embarrassment. She was so shocked that she totally forgot what to say. She was totally in shock. She had no idea what we had been planning all along, and I had been following her for weeks just to collect evidences. We did this all just to make her feel what we had been going through, and how painful it is just to find your partner cheating secretly. As she realized there was no chemistry between her sister and me, and all this plan was just to make her feel her own doings. She started to cry and now was apologizing to her sister and to me and was uncontrollably shaking. She was trying to explain that she had no idea how to fill the void that she had been feeling lately. Upon hearing this, her sister got very angry and said, "So is this justifiable to cheat behind your partner and party away your sorrows, or to confront the problems in a civilized manner and take care of your mental health?" My wife was very ashamed of herself and just apologized again and again. I just started off by saying if there had been some other boy at my place, he would have just left you. But I can only promise that if you are actively willing to work on repairing a relationship, then our future can survive. Otherwise, I also don't see any point in spending any more days with you. She was having her eyes full of tears, so I said, right now, if you're really serious about changing your life, you have to leave your job right away and start a rehab. Plus, you will be shifting to your parents' house for the time being, while you will not be allowed to do any parties or go out with anybody else. If you agree to these terms, then we can think about having another go at this relationship. Otherwise, you already had decided how you want to live. This was a very tough choice that I had presented in front of her, and she was already very much surprised about what had just happened in such a short time. So she instantly agreed upon all the terms, as she was feeling very sorry for the impulsive decisions that she had made. So immediately she wrote a resignation letter and immediately agreed to join the rehab center that her sister had planned for her, and without wasting another day, she started working on a healthy lifestyle. This somehow comforted me that she was at least willing to repair our relationship. But what she had done was one of the most painful things a person can go through. Since I was willing to overlook this all and give her another chance in life, because after all we all are humans and make mistakes. It is better to forgive a person who is willingly and actively trying to repair and work on a relationship. Just after a couple of months, she was pretty much stable and had started to live a healthy lifestyle. This gave me some comfort and hope in our future together.